Hello and welcome to Oz Chris vs. DC Comics for week 4 of November, here with reviews of Detective Comics number 1016, Flash 83, Justice League Dark number 17, and Tales from the Dark Multiverse Infinite Crisis number 1. So starting off with Detective Comics number 1016, written by Peter J. Tomasi, art by Doug Mank and Tyler Kirkham, the coloring by David Barron, the cover by Mankey and Barron. So Freeze and Batman are teaming up to deal with Nora. Freeze reveals that the serum that Lex gave him was the one that he used on to create his Bizarros, all the way back in Forever Evil and all that. But the serum had a tendency to affect the mind of whoever was injected by it, and Freeze thought that he could, adapt to that and that it would be okay. Obviously not, because Nora now hates his guts and is going to be is now a full-on kind of supervillain. So he makes a deal with Batman that as long as he gets a cell next to Nora, he'll happily walk back into Arkham. So they corner Nora. Nora is able to Nora holds out the offensive against the two, and just as they are able to capture Nora, Freeze betrays Batman, thinking that he can help her. He still loves her. He cares about her deeply, and he believes it's his fault that he's done this to his beloved. He can deal with it, but Nora is too far gone and injects Freeze with something that where kind of similar to his older kind of status quo, that if he's not in a place that's extremely cold, he'll die. So he's starting to die as Nora flees from him and Batman. So story, I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5. Good issue. I can't remember if this was the finale. Maybe we'll say. Okay, yes, it is. It is the finale. Regardless of the kind of the end where it doesn't really wrap up this one, I think it was a really good story. Regardless, a lot of good scenes, a lot of good action in there. The coloring, I'm going to give a 4.5 out of 5. Great art and great coloring here. This is probably my favorite page of Batman in his fire suit with a Freeze just dropping into to stop Nora. It's a really good page. And the cover, I'm going to give a 4 out of 5. Good art, good coloring there. Kind of captures what's going on. Nora's just like, I don't need Victor and I don't need you. I'm a strong, independent woman who don't need no Batman or Mr. Freeze. But moving on to Flash number 83. Written by Joshua Williamson, art by Rafa Sandoval, coloring by Jordi Toronga. Coloring by Arif Priento. Jordi Toronga did the inking, but the cover by Sandoval, Jordi Toronga, and Hi-Fi. So Flash is trapped in Ice Heights, Iron Heights, or King Cold's version of Iron Heights, Ice Heights, but he is able to break out with the help of King Cold's own sister, Golden Glider, Lisa. So they are able to break out, but Flash is unable to use his powers because of the inhibitor collar that's on him. But they escape back into Central City, and they meet back up with Wally and Avery. Barry wants to get the inhibitor off of him, but Wally and Avery don't for a certain reason, and then they are attacked by a group of wolves that King Cold has summoned. Given his powers have advanced so far, he can create these creatures to help serve him. And also littered throughout the story is kind of like allusions, flashbacks to how this all happened. So story, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. Good story, advancing the plot really well. Although my only gripe is the fact that it has to explain like that gap between issue number 81 and issue number 82 in flashbacks, because with 82, and I've said this already in the review, it was just like I felt like I was missing something, because it just suddenly Captain Cold is now King Cold, and he's ruling Central City as his own kingdom. And it's like, okay, when did this happen? Because the last we saw, the rogues had just returned to Central City, and that was it. So kind of my main little gripe is just it seems like it's explaining it in flashbacks, and it seems like the next issue is going to explain entirely what happened in that gap. But moving on, art and coloring, I'm gonna give a 5 out of 5. I think the art and coloring was absolutely amazing in this. They definitely put in like their absolute best with this issue. And the cover, I'm gonna give a 3.5 out of 5. While the art and coloring on the cover is good, it has nothing to do with this issue. You know, King Cold against Commander Cold. This doesn't happen because at the end of the previous issue, they fought each other, and King Cold delivered the frozen head of Commander Cold to the Flash in his cell. So this does not happen within the comic. Why is it with Flash? Flash has a lot of misleading covers since the whole like Year of the Villain stuff. Like this isn't a coincidence. This has been a recurring thing that it's just that they've had covers that had nothing to do with the interiors. But moving on to Justice League Dark number 17, or the Injustice League Dark, with the acetate cover here. So got to go all the way at the back because they decided to put it all the way at the back. So written by James Tynion IV, art by Javi Fernandez, coloring by John Caliz, and the cover by Stefan Segovia and Rain Barreto. So, unbeknownst to kind of everyone, Wonder Woman is currently being possessed by Circe, and at the start of this issue, we get a flashback to kind of Circe's origins, how she met Hecate, and how Hecate made her one of gave her the witch mark and gave her powers. But going back to present day, they've dealt with the Man-Bat situation, but Detective Chimp, being the detective that he is, realizes that something is wrong with Wonder Woman when he mentions the fact that Swamp Thing is now just a pile of mush, and Wonder Woman reacts with, "Oh no, we've lost our biggest powerhouse." Not actually like being Wonder Woman, and Circe reveals herself to be in control of Wonder Woman. She removes Zatanna's mouth, regresses Detective Chimp just back to a normal chimp, and then summons the rest of her Injustice League Dark to deal with everyone. And there's a really gruesome scene where Zatanna like just cuts her mouth open, and in order to create a mouth so that she can use his spells. It's just it's like, that's really kind of gruesome to see that. But finally, the JLD have face off against the ILD, Injustice League Dark, ILD. So story, I'm going to give this a 4 or 5. Get a lot of get some good flashback, some origins of Circe, her connection to the witch mark, given the whole witching hour stuff that was going on with the Justice League Dark, and Circe was partially involved with that storyline. So very good very nice of them to give us details about that. The main plot overall progressing really well. Finally, the two teams have met each other, fought each other briefly. The art and the coloring, I'm gonna give a 4 out of 5. The art and coloring here is good, and the cover, I'm gonna give a 4 out of 5. A good cover. With the acetate, this this kind of seems so familiar to the Justice League Odyssey one. Like the Justice League Odyssey one, like Darkseid is on the normal cover, and then the cover here, it has his converted versions of Azrael, Starfire, and Cyborg, and then when you remove the acetate, there's skeletal versions of them instead. And this the same with Justice League Dark. So is that a coincidence, or is it just like, well, you had this? They're both Justice League titles. Let's just do something similar. So moving on to Tales of from the Dark Multiverse, Infinite Crisis, written by James Tynion IV, art by Aaron Lopsresti, sorry. Aaron, I'm just going to call you Aaron. Sorry, mate. Coloring by Romulo Fajardo Jr., the cover by Lee Weeks and Brad Anderson. So, Tempest shows us a world where Infinite Crisis went a little different. So, instead of Maxwell Lord killing Ted Cord kills Maxwell Lord. He takes control of OMAC and establishes himself as the new kind of Black King of I believe it's Checkmate. So he goes about uncovering a lot of stuff. So the Secret Society of Supervillains, containing the Black Diamond of Eclipso, talking to like reestablishing connections with like the magical world and all that, and even brokering a kind of a peace treaty between two races, I think. Between Rand and Thanagar, yeah, that whole war, he was able to negotiate a peace treaty between the two, given his power and status now, and Batman particularly is not particularly happy about the power that Cord now possesses. Booster's also not particularly happy about what's going on with his friend, what his friend is doing. And eventually when this gains the attention of Alexander Luthor from Earth 3, similar to Infinite Crisis, him, Superboy, Earth 2, Superman, and Lois were still watching the events that were unraveling. So they meet up with Cord to team up with him to still continue their plans that they would have done in the original Infinite Crisis, but Cord doesn't want to, and Luthor tries to force him by holding him at gunpoint, and when Superman and Lois discover this, Luthor kills them, causing Superboy to lose it and kill Luthor in retaliation. So, but Cord is able to get Superboy onto his side, kind of continuing Luthor's plan, but this time it's like, well, we're going to make the Earth better in our way that, Superman, your Superman would have liked it and all that. And this is where Cord fully goes down into down the road of supervillain. So he's now got armor inspired by the Anti-Monitor, connected to OMAC, and he is converting everyone into OMAC clones. So leave it there. So story, I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5. I think this is absolutely great. And also something what I really particularly liked about it is that they didn't need to use an A-list character for this what if story. They used someone like Ted Cord, who even in this comic said, I'm a second-rate superhero. It's like, who's going to take me seriously? And it just goes to show like what a supposed second-rate superhero could do if events were different. Like he's doing all of this stuff as like the new Black King of Checkmate, and with OMAC in his control, believing he could bring absolute real peace to Earth and the power that's corrupted him. It's this was written and portrayed extremely well. I really, really enjoyed this. The art and the coloring, I'm going to give a 5 out of 5. The art and coloring was absolutely great in this issue. It was extremely detailed. Like this page of Superboy killing Alexander Luthor of Earth 3. It just is it's just a great looking page, art and coloring wise. And the cover, I'm going to give a 4.5 out of 5. The art and coloring here is great. I just love this pose of just Anti-Monitor, OMAC, Ted Cord, or just Ted Cord holding just all the leagues, like capes, cows, weapons, and all that, standing above him. He's now achieved peace on Earth. So definitely, actually, this would be an absolute recommend for me. I really enjoyed this. So if you haven't picked it up already, definitely check out Tales from the Dark Multiverse, Infinite Crisis. So that is it for those reviews. Thank you all for watching. If you want to follow me on social media, my handles for Twitter and Instagram are in the outro. If you like the video, leave a like. If you haven't already, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I will see you all next time.